Alright, so these are the 13 tools that I would recommend to anybody getting into 3D printing or starting a 3D printing business. Let's get right into the list. So the first item on the list is going to be this scraper tool. If you have a Bamboo Lab printer, they come with these blades and you can actually print out the scraper itself. Pretty much you can use it for picking up the little purge lines on the build plate, or getting little bits of filament off that you can't get off. Sometimes I find support interfaces on the build plate harder to get off, or like PETG sometimes sticks too well to the plate. Next tool on the list is this deburring tool. It's very good for getting off brims. If you're printing with a brim, you can get real up close with the item and very cleanly remove the brim with this. You can get one of these for like $8 or something on Amazon with a bunch of replacement blades. I've used the same blade for like a year and don't have to replace it really, so this thing for $8 will last you pretty much forever. The third tool you're going to want are these flush cutters. They used to actually come with 3D printers back in the day. This is probably a pair from one of my Ender 3s. Nowadays the printers don't really come with them anymore, but you can get a pair of flush cutters on Amazon for like $5. Really good for, again, cutting new rolls of filament. When you have to cut the little end off, really good for that. Also good for removing little supports and stuff like that. If you got to get in real tight with some of the supports and stuff, you can get that off. The next tool on my list is a utility knife or a box cutter. I really use this for opening new rolls of filament, getting the new rolls of filament out of the plastic, or just opening the filament boxes, opening other packages that you get. Just a good overall tool to have. So probably my favorite thing on this list is a set of dedicated hex key drivers, specifically these sizes 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3 millimeter. With these four, you're going to be able to pretty much disassemble and reassemble any 3D printer, do any sort of maintenance you need to, unless you have maybe a Prusa. Prusa seem to use those Torx bits, but otherwise pretty much any 3D printer you're going to be able to fully take apart and do maintenance on with just these four drivers. You could probably even do without the 3.0, but usually these come in a set of four. And I say dedicated drivers because it's just really nice when you use a tool a lot to have a dedicated version of it. Instead of swapping out the bits and stuff, it can be really annoying. These are clearly labeled so you know exactly which one you need, and they're just really nice. One of my favorite pickups for a 3D printing accessory. A pair of needle nose pliers. These are really good for removing supports. That's pretty much all I use them for, is removing any supports that may get stuck. They're better than regular pliers because you can kind of jam them into the support if you need to and grab onto them. The next thing is a set of files. Now you don't really need all these files. However, finding like just one or two is probably not very cost effective. This is a set of like 10 that I got for probably $10 or $15, and really the most used one I have is this flat one. This is really good for like when you remove supports and you kind of just, it's not very clean, you can just kind of file it down real quick and it'll make the support area much smoother where the supports were removed. That's pretty much all I use it for. Next thing is a spray bottle with isopropyl alcohol. You can use one that's like this size, like it's pretty small, or you can use one of those big full size sprayers. Just really good for cleaning off the build plate. You can give it a spray or two and then hit it with a paper towel or a microfiber cloth. Liquid glue stick is good to have just in case you have something that just won't stick to the build plate, or if you're printing with something like PETG, this will really help release the part from a textured PEI sheet. The next two things are related to nozzle cleaning. This is a set of needles for a 0.4 millimeter nozzle. This is a pack of like 50 or 100 that I probably got for like $5, and these things are reusable, so this pack is gonna last me probably forever, and it was only $5. So this is really good when your nozzle gets a clog in it. You can heat up the nozzle to about 250 degrees and then stick this up into the nozzle, and then it should release any stuck filament in there. And then another thing is, you don't really need this, but it's nice to have some nozzle cleaning filament. What this basically does is, after you clear the nozzle clog with these needles, you run a little bit of this through the nozzle, and it basically will attract any little particles that are stuck in the nozzle to the filament. So once it extrudes out of the nozzle, it will take any particles that are maybe stuck in there from the stuck filament with it. Other thing that I would recommend is a multi-bit screwdriver. Usually most things regarding 3D printers are Allen keys. However, sometimes you will just need a Phillips head or a flat head or something like that. So just having a nice small multi-bit driver tool is good to have just to cover all your bases. And my last recommendation, I actually don't have with me, I misplaced it, but a nice, I'll put a picture up, a mini blowtorch. I find it good for removing like strings and stuff like that from prints. You can also use a heat gun, but I find the mini blowtorch to be a lot faster and it reduces the risk of melting your part or anything like that. Alright, so that is my list of essentials for 3D printing enthusiasts or business owners. I hope the audio quality was good. I actually forgot to turn on this mic, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.